Good morning. It definitely took some time to pass, but a new $61 billion aid package has been authorized to help Ukraine in its fight against Russia. It's a lot of money, but is it enough to win the war? We're getting some insight into that from Myron Kolinsky. He's a Ukrainian American and organization director of the Ukrainian National Home of Hartford. Myron, thanks for being with us again.
Thank you very much for having me.
So you heard the news that this bill, much talked about bill, finally passes. President Biden signs it. What's your reaction?
We're very happy that the bill has finally been passed. It was a 6-month process, and there was a lot of efforts on the part of the Ukrainian American community to convince our legislators that this is very much needed and will be put to a good use. So we're very happy about that.
As someone who has such an interest in the region and is so connected with so many people who do, for better or worse, a lot of other items got brought up in this debate. Border security, funding for Israel, other items got brought up in the discussion of whether the Ukraine aid should be passed. As you watched that over the last months, really, what was your reaction? Did you wish it could just be separated as its own issue?
We always felt that at the end of the day that the aid package would come in for Ukraine, and the fact that there are other aid packages involved is not an issue. I mean, we're happy that others are also benefiting from this bill. So
as we look at things like artillery, vehicles, weapons, air defenses, even reports of some long-range ballistic missiles in recent use, do you think this is enough to turn the tide?
We think it's enough to turn the tide. As we've talked about before, the Ukrainians are very resilient, very resourceful, and they were just asking for assistance in order to regain the territory that they've always had. So,
what is if there was a concern about this, is it that it might be too little, too late? Was that delay potentially harmful? Do you worry about that?
I think that overall, again, based on their resilience and resourcefulness, I think that it's good that it finally passed and that the aid is definitely going to Ukraine. But they've been working all along on the Ukrainian side. So.
One of the things that I always find interesting when you're on or other members of the Ukrainian American community are on is to hear those dispatches, those reports, those phone calls, emails, text messages, WhatsApp that you're getting from Ukraine. Mm-hmm. Can you tell me about either yours or anecdotally what you've heard from others? What are spirits like there?
Well, I think overall the spirits, because like we've talked about before, they're defending their own land, their own homes, and their neighbors' homes, and so I think overall they know that they have to win this war, and they have to move on in order to be an integral part of Europe, which they've always kind of been.
Are some of those messages still as intense and dramatic as they were in the early days of the war, when you told us about people calling and saying missiles were striking their neighborhoods and they were doing school classes in basements at almost a makeshift bomb shelter? Is day-to-day life still that chaotic and dangerous?
I believe so, depending on which area is being targeted. There have been targets all over the country now: Western Ukraine, Eastern Ukraine, Central Ukraine. So, and you don't know when it's going to happen. So, yes, they're still vigilant, and they still sometimes have classrooms in the bomb shelters and all. And depending on the day of the week, it could be in all different locations of Ukraine. So they're still very vigilant.
I know you and members of your community have been watching closely the negotiations in Congress, but how closely have people in Ukraine been watching? We know President Zelensky has been outspoken about the need for this aid and calling on senators, congressmen, the president to get this bill through. Have you been hearing that from relatives and friends in Ukraine as well? Are they watching that closely?
I believe they're looking to us to be their ambassadors, and our communities really have been very much trying to be the voice for the people in Ukraine. And I think the people in Ukraine know that, and I think they have confidence in us as a Ukrainian American community. So I think that they are well aware of it. They do read a lot of newspapers, and they do watch a lot of television, and they do try to keep in touch with what's happening in the world. So they're very much attuned to what's happening here, and I'm sure they're very happy that
Sure.
it turned out this way.
I want to ask you about, I know there's an event happening later today, and
Yes.
there's also an exhibit as well. Tell us first about the event today that you want to let people know about.
Okay, the event today is at the University of St. Joseph. It's the Yevshan Ukrainian Vocal Ensemble, and they're performing at 3 o'clock today.
So that would be a good way if you want to support the Ukrainian community or learn more about it. That will be a good thing. Tell us about this exhibit as well, because you said it's very powerful.
Yes, the exhibit is over at Wesleyan University at the Olin Library, and it opened on April 13th, and it will last until, I believe, May 13th, and it's in the lobby of the library at Wesleyan at Olin Library.
And what does it show?
It has pictures of 40 students that would have completed their studies and did not because of this war.
All right. Well, as soon as we heard that this aid package had passed, we thought of you immediately. We appreciate you always being willing to come in and give us your perspective. We'll have you back again. Myron Kolinsky, thanks for being with us.
Thank you.